keeping R&D server ready. I hope you are able to practice R&D server. It's simple one, very simple one. Okay, R&D server, what is the best example for R&D server? Eureka server is the best in R&D server. Does it contains any document when we publish the microservice to it? No. That's why we call it as no document server. What is the default port number of R&D Eureka R&D server? 8761. Is it fixed or changeable? Changeable, but recommended to continue default one. Changeable, but recommended to continue default one. Right, boss? Okay. Right. So what it maintains? What it maintains? What it maintains? What it maintains? Microservice or microservice instances. Microservices or microservice instances. Microservice instance. Can I place same microservice for multiple times in the form of multiple instances? In the form of multiple instances, definitely. Definitely we can place, boss. What do you say? Every MS must be published or registered with Eureka server, R&D server, by becoming Eureka client. So every MS that will be published in R&D server, Eureka R&D server is technically called as what? Eureka client. Yes or no, na, boss? Okay. So what is the point I should give? Every MS that will be published in Eureka R&D server. R&D server is technically called as Eureka client. Okay, Eureka client MS or Eureka client. That's it, boss. Super, boss. We need to develop microservice as a Spring REST controller, adding the support of @enable Eureka client. Without @enable Eureka client, it is just a RESTful application. When you add it, it becomes microservice whose services can be published in Eureka R&D server. Eureka R&D server. Getting my point, guys? That's the only difference. Otherwise, every microservice is one REST controller. Every microservice is one REST controller. Right, boss? See, guys? Spring REST project. MS1, microservice 1, @Eureka, enable Eureka client, REST controller, such service. It is published here. Okay, MS2 published here. MS3 published here. All the three microservices are published here or not? All the three microservices are published here or not? MS1, MS2, MS3. MS1, MS2, MS3. Total how many microservices are there? 3 microservices are there. Total how many microservices are there? 3 microservices are there. Yes, boss. MS1 is repeated twice. It's my typing mistake. Yeah. Anything, any issue in this diagram, guys? Any issue in the diagram? Easy? The REST controller project, application or project with Eureka client @enable Eureka client is technically called MS microservice that is ready to publish in a Eureka R&D server. Eureka R&D server. Right, boss? Super. Okay, boss. Next. Procedure for developing MS microservice development and publishing in what? Eureka R&D server. Eureka R&D server. Yeah. First, make sure that one Springboard project is already developed and running as Eureka server. And in previous class, we kept Eureka server ready, na boss? In previous class, we kept Eureka server ready and make sure that it is running on default port number 8761. If it is running on custom port number, we need to do some additional configuration to catch that port number. So that's why always make sure that it is running on default port number, boss. Running on default port number smoothly. Okay, next. Create Spring Boot starter project, adding Spring Web, Eureka Discovery client dependencies. Spring Web, Eureka Discovery client dependencies. That means microservice development, guys. You have to develop this one as a microservice. Where is this? Okay, where is this number started, guys? R&D server Eureka, na? Now onwards, we do one thing, boss. Spring starter project, boss. We'll try to maintain same number for same category microservices. Array, suppose one microservice application you want to develop. One Eureka server, 2 microservices are there. We'll try to use same number for all the 3 projects, right? Then confusion will not be there to identify them. Okay. Boot MS pros 01. What is this? MS development. MS development. Okay. Okay. MS development, microservice development. Everything is same, guys. Say next. Everything is same, guys. Say next. Spring Web, that is regular one. Eureka client. Eureka Discovery client is there now, boss. Eureka server yesterday. Today, Eureka client. Say next. Say finish. Yeah, Eureka Discovery client dependencies. Okay. Close everything, guys. Yeah, R&D server. This is MS development, boss. R&D server. This is MS development. Fine. Okay. So next step. What is the go-to main class? Add enable Eureka client, boss. @enable Eureka client. @enable discovery client. Enable discovery client. This is also same. Super. Okay. This is the next step. Next, guys. Add the following entries in application.properties. Okay. Eureka server, Eureka discovery server, one and the same, boss. Add the following entries in application.properties. Okay. First of all, tell me, boss. First of all, tell me. Okay. First of all, tell me, it is a microservice, should be registered with Eureka server. Should I take register with Eureka true or false? Should I take register with Eureka true or false? Should I take fetch registry true or false? What is the default value coming from the parent project? What is the default value coming from the parent project? True only. So since it is coming true by default, do I need to modify that again by writing those entries? Do I need to modify that by writing those entries, guys? No, not required. The people who are given answer false is the default value. You are not at all opening the notes after the class, or you are not listening class properly. Yes or no? Na? Yesterday, I think we spent 10 to 15 minutes time only to understand those properties. From the parent Spring Cloud project, those two properties are coming in, those two properties are inherited to our project with what values? Default value true. But yesterday, what we developed? Eureka server, right? Is there any sense of Eureka server resisting with Eureka server? No. Is there any sense of Eureka server fetching from Eureka server? No. We want to present that one as a Eureka server, that project, not as a microservice. So those two properties should be turned to what? False or not? But since default is true, and we also want to in our MS project, do I need to place those properties explicitly? No. Yeah, MS service port number, server dot port number, Spring dot application dot name. This is what? Service name, service name. Or I am going to create single instance. Single instance means a service ID itself becomes instance ID in a boss. Service ID itself becomes instance ID. How to create multiple instances, I'll talk later. Yeah, this is very important. Eureka server is running at specific URL. In that Eureka server, this publish related service is running at fixed request path. What is that? Eureka. http://localhost 8761. This is to reach Eureka server. Okay, publishing related activities are happening in this particular path, boss. In this particular path. So you have to give that. You have to give that. What is that? Eureka.client.service URL.default zone. Service URL dot specify the Eureka server URL to publish the EMS. So by contacting this path, by contacting component of this path of Eureka server, you complete the publishment. You complete the publishment. Keys are very important. Okay, somehow in my Eclipse ID, help stopped coming, boss. Help stopped coming. Actually, if help comes, you will do less mistakes. If help is not there, you will do typing mistake. Be careful. MS microservice port number. Server dot port. We will try to take some number, guys. What is the number we will try to take? 7171. Otherwise 9090. Some number. Any number you can take. Nothing is default. Achha, default means Tomcat server na 8080, right? But in my computer, 8080 is already occupied, boss, by one or other service of Oracle. That's why don't use it. Yeah, service ID. Since we have single instance, the service ID becomes instance ID. The service ID becomes instance ID. Got it, guys? Yeah, it is there. Server Spring dot application dot name. Spring dot application dot name. Application dot name. Okay, wish service. Hey, not compulsory iPhone should be given. You can give single word also. You can give single word also, right, boss? Next. Okay, specify Eureka server URL. Register the MS with Eureka server. Register the MS with Eureka server. To register the MS with Eureka server. What is the property, guys? Eureka.client.service URL hyphen default job. Eureka dot, tell me. Yeah, service ID. If you don't give, project name is the service ID, right? But for betterment, better to give the Eureka dot client dot service URL dot default hyphen zone. Default hyphen zone. Yeah. Here Spring is in lowercase, guys. Default hyphen zone is equal to default hyphen zone is equal to http// localhost. What's the port number, guys? 8761, right? Slash Eureka. This is the fixed request path. Fixed request path, guys. It's a fixed request path. Got it, boss? Fixed path. Develop the REST controller representing microservice. Everything else is regular, Bob. Okay, everything else is regular. Right click, guys. Procase, guys. com.nt.rest or ms. You can take anything. com.nt.rest or ms. Okay, if you still feel it is a REST controller, you take REST only. Okay, boss. Tell me here. Class. Wish message controller. What is there? Wish message controller. Wish message controller. Tell me. @REST controller, boss. @REST controller. After that, what next? @request mapping for global path. Wish/wish. Yes, no. Tell me next one. Public. Tell me. Response entity. Response entity string. You can take normal string also. But if you want to get the output along with the response headers and status code kind of thing, better to take response. Then better to take response entity. What do you say, guys? Come on. Yeah. Public response entity. Public response entity is string, guys. Public response entity is string. Public response entity is string. Tell me, guys. Display wish message. Display wish message, guys. Tell me. @get mapping /display. /display. Whatever it is about. Not an issue, boss. Okay. Yeah. Tell me. Return new response. Return new response entity. Return new response entity. Understanding my statement, guys. Return new response entity. Welcome to microservices. Microservices. Tell me. HTTP status dot. HTTP status dot okay. You guys got the point, my dear? HTTP status dot okay. Wish message controller dot Java. com.nt.rust, guys. Is that clear? Yeah, we are ready, boss. We are ready. So first of all, I have to keep my MS project ready now. Already I have given this. Make sure that it is in running mode, right? Run as Java application. Run as a Java application. It's running on same port number, this. Super. Okay. Now listen. Now I will open the dashboard of this. I'll open the dashboard of this. Here is what, guys. Here is what I want reply. 4041 no 8761, right? 8761. Right now, how many instances are available? No instances are available, right? Are there any instances? No, because we didn't run the this one. Okay, MS development. I go here. Right now, I have executed which one, guys? R&D server only we executed. Eureka server, R&D server only we executed. Cool. Now let's take this one, boss. Now, say refresh once. Yeah. Now we have to run this application. Now, right click, run as Java application. Java application, yeah, standalone application we are running. As a standalone application we are running. Okay, now listen, guys, we are getting one solid message. Wish service 1990. Wish service 1990 with status. Okay. Is a registering now, boss? Registered in a stance, registered in a stance. Registered in a stance, registered in a stance. Are you getting my point? Port number and everything is coming here or not, boss? Okay, boss. It is registered. You come here, say refresh. Here we able to see one instance there. Are you able to see one instance there? Are you able to see one instance there, guys? Okay. And AMI is nothing but cloud related information. Don't worry. Okay. Availability zones are these both that is cloud related information. Eureka server giving that information. That's why right now cloud is not linked or not applicable kind of thing. Okay. Status is up. That means it's a running, boss. It's a running. Here what is there, guys? This is the URL. This is the URL. Click on it, guys. You will get some this kind of URL, boss. So change the URL according to our requirement. What is our URL, boss? That is current computer IP address. This is current computer IP address. /wish/display. Get mode request can be given from browser now, boss. Welcome to microservices. Coming or not coming? Welcome to microservices is coming or not coming? Welcome to microservices is coming or not coming? Okay, guys. Understanding my statement? Okay. Now, if you don't want to use this stuff, guys, we can go for regular local host kind of. Only today, our concentration is registration. Remaining all are normal, boss. Remaining all are normal. See, I am giving direct request to microservice. No way link with Eureka server. Is it linked to Eureka server? Is it linked with Eureka server? No, na boss. Welcome to microservices is coming or not? Welcome to microservices is coming or not? Come on. Okay. Array, maybe internally it is maintaining one copy of the microservice. That's where replication true is coming. Replication true is coming. Don't think much on it. Okay. That's internal work, boss. We did not worry about it. So easy, boss. Because of which step MS got registered? Because of which step MS got registered? Okay, boss. Because of this. Because of this, MS got registered. Come on. Okay. Because of this, MS got registered. Because of this, MS has become eligible to register. Because of this, MS got registered. Everyone understanding? Yes, see, clearly port number is there now, boss. We run the MS. We run the MS, we can give the request. But how does it register to Eureka server? Good question. Hari, because of these lines. But to register with Eureka server, first of all, it should be eligible Eureka client. How does it become eligible Eureka client? Because of this line. Everyone getting? As of now, no limitation is there in Eureka server, boss. You can even get them in a cloud environment also. No restrictions are there. Run the microservice project as in this one. This process automatically publish the MS to Eureka server. This process automatically publish the MS to Eureka server. Okay, you are launching this. Okay, according to that example, search service and other thing. According to this example, port number is 7171 and accordingly URLs are given. Accordingly URLs are given. Got it? But here I want to write one small important point, guys. What is this? Note. Because of the tell me here, because of the URL given in application dot properties, given in application dot properties is the MS. What is this? MS will be registered with Eureka server. The MS will be registered with Eureka server. Super. Listen. Because of the enable discovery client, Eureka client. Eureka client. The MS becomes ready to register with tell me, Eureka. Understanding? Can we enable one microservice in different Eureka servers? Not possible now, boss, because we have only one URL to give, right? Okay. Discovery client, boss. Discovery client. Maybe time to time you may change URL and you can do. Time to time you may change URL and you can do. That is possible. One at a time, one microservice in multiple Eureka servers at a time, not possible. Yes or no, na? Muhammad Nabi Alam. Without Eureka server, no problem. After add Eureka server, not not add errors. So it's YSR. No, I didn't get any error. You are saying errors. First of all, stop doing parallel practicals, Mr. Muhammad Nabi Alam. Then you will focus on the class. Yeah, console also a R&D server, boss. I think yesterday I have given lot of server R&D servers list, right? Okay, boss. Super. Okay. So now we need not we need to worry about communication between microservices. First at POC level, then serious level, application level, right? And intra communication between what? Okay. First of all, check enable Eureka client is not there. I just guessed it, Rabo. Is there any enable Eureka client, Mr. Neelakant? Mr. Neelakant, when not there, how can I compare, my dear? Mr. Neelakant, are you there in the classroom? There is no enable. By mistake, I guessed it like that. Okay. Guys, everyone, please come back. Are you there? Okay. Yeah, intercommunication between microservices. I want to see one microservice talking to another microservice. Okay, just guess wildly, boss. Why, sir? Why it is required? Once order service is taken order, one order service has taken order, it has to communicate with the billing service to prepare the bill. To prepare the bill. Then it has to communicate with what? Payment service, right? Integration is required now, boss. Because no microservice cannot complete entire request flow. If one microservice completes entire request flow, that we can say we have developed that project in monolithic architecture. In microservice architecture, every service is what? Separate microservice. So in order to complete entire request flow, giving from inputs to getting the results. So we need to have communication between multiple microservices. Yeah, don't think much, boss. It's a communication between two REST controllers. Here also we use a REST template only. Here also we use a REST template only. But we involve Eureka server to find the each microservice, because all microservices will be published in what? Because all the microservices will be published in what? Eureka server. Everyone getting my point? Since all microservices will be published in Eureka server, we involve Eureka server to find the details about destination microservice, to gather details about this microservice, and to keep them in communication. To keep them in communication. To see communication between two microservices, both microservices must be published in the Eureka server, right? Must be published in the Eureka server. Super, guys. The MS that provides service is called provider or server or producer or parent service, right, boss? Provider or server or producer or parent service, boss. The MS that consumes service is equal to consumer or client or child service. Consumer or client or child service. Okay, look at the diagram. Consumer MS, provider MS. MS1, MS2. This is just a REST controller. This is REST controller with REST template. REST controller with REST template. Getting my point, guys? Yeah, look at numbers. Numbers are very important. MS2, first provider is published in the Eureka server. A, publish. MS2 is published. B, diagrams are very, very interesting, boss. When you see the diagram, it looks very easy, but to get the thought and to simplify the subject, drawing diagrams is not that much easy. I hope diagrams and my notes may making your learning process easy. My diagrams, my visualization of subject, my notes, the day I present subject is making your learning process easy. Okay, boss. It's all about how you interpret. It's all about how you interpret the things, boss. That's it. Shall we? Yeah, this is A, guys. Provider MS published this thing. Consumer MS also published, boss. So because of that, both microservices are there in Eureka server. Yes or no? Na? Super. A, B. Next one, what is there, guys? C. Consumer MS somehow contacts the Eureka server to find about microservice 2. To find about microservice 2, find MS2. Somehow it gets the details and passes those details to REST template. REST template communicates with what? REST template generates HTTP request to communicate with provider MS. Their logic executes and generated output comes to what? Consumer MS as response. So once again, see the numbers. A, B, both microservices are published. C, somehow consumer MS contacts the Eureka server, finds what? MS2. It finds for MS2 and gets its service instance. From service instance, it gathers more other details and passes to REST template. REST template communicate with the provider MS. Provider MS logics will be executed. Generated output comes to consumer MS as response. Life is easy na, boss. Everyone understood? Everything is clear? Yeah, publish register one and the same. Publishing, registering one and the same. If you are confused, you go for this. Super, guys. Listen, where is that? Cart service need payment service. Array shopping cart items, shopping cart. Employee service needs department service. Cart service needs billing service. Generally, the consumer and producer application will be represented as shown below, parent and child, boss. So child side diamond symbol will be added. Child side diamond symbol will be added. So you need not write child every time. By seeing the diamond symbol, we can call it as a child. We can say it as a child. We can present it as a child. Payment service, cart service. Doctor service, patient service. So where diamond symbol is there, that is child. Yeah. Okay. Can you tell the difference between SOA style communication between client and provider or consumer and provider, and microservice style communication between consumer and provider? I hope other day we have seen SOA style, service oriented architecture. Today we got some idea about what? Microservice style communication. Observe one important point. In SOA style of communication, only publisher will be registered with, only provider will be registered with Eureka server. I mean to say service registry. But when it comes to microservice style communication, guys, both consumer microservice, provider microservice will be registered with Eureka server. So there, what's the advantage, you know? What's the advantage in microservice? Any microservice can become consumer, any microservice can become producer. But when it comes to SOA, boss, when it comes to SOA, okay, fixed providers and fixed consumers will be there. Fixed providers and fixed consumers will be there. Look at this. SOA style intra-communication are nothing but what? SOAP-based web services, guys. SOAP-based web services. SOAP-based web services. Number one, this service provider is registered with the registry, boss. This service provider is registered with registry. Okay. Service consumer contacts the registry, gets the details about what? Service provider. Gets the details about service provider. Then communication will happen. This bind operation, guys, because of this bind operation, communication takes place. Because of this bind operation is nothing but communication, guys. Your only provider service will be published. Here only provider service will be published. Here what happens, guys? Here both consumer and provider services will be published to Eureka server before starting the interaction. See, provider is published, consumer is published. Then communication is taking place or not? Then communication is taking place or not? I want reply, boss. Come on. Okay, boss. Tell me. Here, any MS can become provider MS or consumer MS. Any MS can become provider MS or consumer MS. Here, we need to have fixed provider and fixed consumer applications. Consumer services or applications. Everyone understanding my statement, guys? Super. Okay, now listen. Most important thing, guys. Most important thing is REST template can communicate with the destination MS by generating HTTP request. But in the REST template, we need to pass lot of details now, boss. We need to pass lot of details, URL, request path, input params, lot of details we have to pass. But from here, you will get only service instance. Na? From here, you will get only service instance. So talking to service instance, we need to gather a lot of details from the service instance in order to make this communication happening with the destination microservice. To do all these activities, we will take a special component. We will take a special component where, guys, in the consumer application, that is client component. That is client component. Once again, modularity. I'm going for modularity, boss. In consumer application, what is the first target? Contacting Eureka server, finding and getting service instance of destination microservice. Next, gathering details about that microservice from service instance. Next, passing them to REST template and using them for communication. Passing them to REST template and using them for communication. These are the 4 activities are there now. Forget about the last activity. So to do the remaining 3 activities, better to take a separate component now, boss. Better to take a separate component now, boss. Come on. And the separate component that we use in consumer application is technically called client component. Why? Because that only doing all operation on behalf of consumer. That only doing all operation on behalf of consumer. Okay, I'll tell one small example, boss. You take real life scenario. Prime Minister of Russia, come on. Prime Minister of Russia, Prime Minister of India wants to communicate. Okay, this initiation is taken from India side. So India is the consumer, Prime Minister of Russia is the provider. Let us assume for the time being. Okay, now tell me guys, uh, uh, the Indian Prime Minister Modi itself will do all the conversations, ringing the number, finding his number, okay, talking to Russian delegates. Everything will be done by Indian Prime Minister itself directly. No, na boss. There is a PMO office. There is a PMO office, Indian PMO, Prime Minister office boss. So Prime Minister office people will contact what? Russian Prime Minister office. From there, they get Russian Prime Minister number and other details. And all these details will now pass it to what? Indian Prime Minister Modi. Then communication between Modi and Putin happens or not? Then communication between Modi and Putin happens or not? So here Indian Prime Minister office is there na. It is like client component. It is like a client component. So every consumer MS will contain one client component to contact Eureka server and to get destination MS service instance and to gather various details about service instance and to pass to REST template. So then REST template will take care of the remaining communication part. So final conclusion here is what, guys? Okay, Indian Prime Minister Modi is like REST template of consumer MS and client component in consumer MS is nothing but what? Indian PMO office. Indian PMO office or Prime Minister Secretary. Indian PMO office or Prime Minister Secretary. Clear, boss? And a client component in consumer MS is a separate unit that is taken for modularity, who take care of gathering destination MS details from Eureka server and getting what is that service instance with respect to that instance and getting what various details from that service instance, Clear, guys? Got the point, guys? Come on. Yes, now I'm explaining, please listen. In the intra-communication of microservices through Eureka server, the consumer or client or child MS should find and get details of provider or producer or server MS by submitting its service ID. For this, the consumer MS must use one special component. What is that, guys? Client component or client type component. So I think I'm highlighting this one here, was client component or client type component. Client component or client type component. Everyone understanding my statement, guys? Super. Okay, now listen carefully. The work of client component in consumer MS is getting producer MS instance, producer MS service instance from Eureka server by submitting service ID. In the find method, it will submit what? Service ID of producer MS, it gets service instance. Number 2, gathers producer MS details like URL, method type, path, and etc. from the service instance. This find method gives me what, guys? Service instance object. From the service instance object, it will gather that are required for communication, like URL, method type, and etc. URL, method type, and etc. Got it, my dear? Super. Next. Yeah, passing the above details to REST template of consumer MS. Passing the above details to REST template of consumer MS to make REST template to send HTTP request to producer MS. to make REST template to send HTTP request to MS. Whatever URL you got, path you got, request type you got, everything will be passed to REST template. This REST template will take care of communication with producer MS or not. Will take care of communication with the producer MS or not. I want reply, boss. I want reply. I think now you got clear-cut idea, boss, after seeing these three statements. After seeing these three statements, you got a clear-cut idea. Crystal clear clarity. Let us assume consumer is like one businessman. He is very busy person or he got lot of money. Okay, we want to go to some place. He will do ticket booking on his own, contacting travel agent, okay, asking them to book the tickets, gathering those details and using them for journey. Everything will be taken care by whom, guys? One is a secretary or not? One of is a secretary or not? One of is a secretary or not? Come on. One of his secretary will take care of his activities or not? I want reply. One of his secretary will take care of those activities or not? Super, guys. Now listen. To develop this client component, as of now, Eureka server environment, in Eureka server, three types of client component or client type components are possible. That means this client type components can be developed in how many ways, guys? Three ways. Three different ways, guys. One is discovery client component. Discovery client component. Very basic legacy, boss. Very basic legacy. Load balancer client component. Load balancer client component. Good. Fin client component, abstract client. You will give very less details. Everything will be taken care by client component itself. So this is best. And industry standard is this one, fin client was. Industry standard is what? Best. Okay. This we learn only for knowledge sake. Our main focus will be on what? Load balancer client component and fin client component. Everyone understanding? And both will do load balancing. Both will do load balancing. Understanding my statement? So instead of saying good, let me say best. Instead of saying good, let me say best, guys. Let me say best. Okay, boss. Does not support load balancing. Load balancing. If you say X instance, it will get X instance. If you say Y instance, it will get Y instance. It never checks load factor of each instance before accenting the instance. Load balancing. Does not support load balancing, boss. Super. Load balancer client. These two things supports load balance. You're load balancing with a lot of manual work. You're load balancing with abstract work. You do very less. Most of the things it will take care automatically. Most of the things it will take care automatically. So that's why fin client is what? Abstract client. Very less things we do, guys. Many things will happen automatically. It's something like this, boss. If you write one small method signature in the interface, entire code will be generated internally. It's like Spring Data JPA methods. Spring Data JPA repository methods. Come on. In Spring Data JPA, a lot of repository methods are there. Are we going to write persistence logic for it? Are we going to write persistence logic for it? Are we going to write persistence logic for it? Definitely not. Definitely not. Right, boss? Are you seriously going to write any persistence logic for it? Definitely not, boss. Come on. Tell me here what is there, boss. Supports load balance. Supports load balance. Great, boss. Now have a look. Here in detail I have given. In detail. I just highlighted client component and consumer and Eureka server. No producer is highlighted. Focus. Yeah. This is only with respect to what? Client component. Discovery client or load balancer client or fin client. Yeah. Calls the find method passing instance ID. Calls the find method passing instance ID to communicate with Eureka server and to find for given service, given service instance, right, boss? Super, guys. Tell me that service instance, that microservice service instance comes back to client component. That microservice related service instance object comes back to client component. Here we give service ID, boss, and we will get service instance object. Clear? MS2 service instance object will come. Here I am giving service ID only. Here I am giving service ID only. Here I am going to get service instance object. Clear, clear. Don't confuse. This is service ID. This is service ID. That's it. Come on, guys. Service ID. Yeah. Client component calls find method having service ID. Okay. It will search. Is there any? And to make it happen in case sensitive, MS2 I will take in lower case. MS2 I will take in lower case, right? Super. MS2 service instance object will come. Really, we will get object representing this microservice. Super. C. From that service instance, details from service instance, URL, path, etc., etc. Are a lot of details. What is this service, the microservice URL? What is the path of the method that you want to invoke? What is the request type, request mode, get mode, or post mode? Are there any parameters are there to pass? Are there any path variables are there to pass? Lot of details are taken, boss, taken. And given to whom? REST template. Yes or no, na, boss? Mr. Rahul, why are you not using common sense? From the beginning, I am telling MS1 is consumer and MS2 is what? Producer. And now you are saying that MS1, MS2 are two different services, are two instances of same service. Muddy fellow. Muddy fellow. In all the diagrams, what I presented, MS2, producer, MS1, consumer, right? In all my diagrams, what I presented? People changes the mindset within 2 minutes. Okay. MS1, consumer MS. And that too I have clearly written consumer MS, right? MS1, consumer MS. MS2, producer MS. Producer or provider MS. Consumer or this one. Here is what? MS. MS1. Yeah, someone, Sumit MC asked how MS1 gets MS2 ID in the find method. Sumit MCA, okay. Sumit MCA, when you want to communicate with the destination microservice, getting its microservice ID, service ID is my responsibility or not? Or I want to talk with yahoo.com. Finding yahoo.base URL is my responsibility or not? Come on, guys. Consumer must know. Consumer must know. The provider MS ID, service ID. Yes or no? Na? Okay, if kind component is discovery component, no load balancing will be done. If client component is what? Load balancer client or fin client, then only load balancing will happen. Understanding my statement? Super. From the service instance object, lot of details will be gathered and will be passed to REST template, right? REST template uses those details, generates HTTP request to provider application. Super. EF. Provider application logic executes, guys. Provider MS logics will execute. That is F. Whatever generated output comes back to consumer MS in the form of HTTP response. In the form of HTTP response. If response is having JSON content, we use one or other JSON API to convert back to what? Java objects. To convert back to Java objects. I think this diagram has given more clarity, boss. Okay, the client component, discovery or load balancer or fin client. Okay, calls find method having destination MS ID. Okay, it will search as find it. Okay, it gets a service instance object representing MS destination microservice. From there, it will gather the details, URL path, request path, method type, etc., etc. And those details are passed to REST template. REST template generates HTTP request to communicate with provider application. In provider application, logics will execute. Whatever output generated comes back to produce. Whatever output generated comes back to consumer MS. Comes back to consumer MS in the form of HTTP response. I think we all set to develop consumer application by using different types of client components. By using different types of client component. Super, guys. For modularity purpose. For modularity purpose. Okay, we try to develop client component outside of the consumer MS. Consumer MS as a separate class. I think you understood, guys. So that that client component can be used by multiple consumer MS. Multiple consumer MS to consume the same destination microservice. To consume the same destination microservice. Come on. To consume the same destination microservice. So modularity purpose, boss. Modularity means reusability kind of. Modularity is nothing but reusability kind of thing. Everyone getting my point? Super, guys. Akshay Kap say many to one to many relationships will be there between entity classes, not in microservices. Not in microservices. Is that clear? Please don't spoil your brain unnecessarily. If provider application is having multiple instances, load balancer need to provide instance ID along with the service ID. Okay, Mr. Mullah, you provide service ID only, but it will pick up the right instance and gives the details to client component. It will pick up the right instance and gives the details to client component. Got it? So that is a different discussion. To run MS application, we need R&D servers. Listen. For intra-communication between microservices, R&D is required. You want to run individual microservice, since it's a REST controller, you can run without Eureka server also. But without Eureka server, can you enjoy load balancing? Can you enjoy fin client kind of abstract client? That's why. See, basic intra-communication between microservice is possible without Eureka server. But if you want to enjoy load balancing, if you want to enjoy other facilities, you have to use them in microservice style. In microservice style is nothing but involving Eureka server. That is nothing but involving Eureka server, right? Super. Can I ask a few questions, boss? Okay, guys. In consumer application, we will use REST template directly to communicate with the producer MS, or we will take the support of any special component. We will take the support of any special component. Yeah, what is that special component? What is that special component? Client component, right? Tell me roles of this client component. Tell me the roles of this client component. It will do 3 roles. It will do how many roles, guys? 3 roles it will do, right? Can you tell me the roles of this client component, boss? Number 1, taking the service ID, contacting the Alexa server, and finding for the destination MS and getting its service instance object. Number 1. Number 2, gathering a lot of details from that service instance, like URL path, okay, request method, and etc., and passing those details to whom, guys? And passing those details to whom, guys? Come on, I want reply. Passing those details to REST template. Passing those details to REST template. Right now, boss? Passing those details to REST template. Yeah, these are the 3 operations it will do. Find service, get details about service instance, and pass them to REST template. Pass them to REST template. Super. How can we do basic communication without Eureka server? Hurry, REST template is there now, boss. You forgot, huh? RESTful web services intra-communication. Hurry. I don't know why you taken that question so heavily. I don't know why you taken that question so heavily, right? Both microservices are what, guys? Both microservices are basically what? Tell me. REST controller. So communication between 2 REST controllers can be done using REST template or not? Rakesh Kumar, how many applications you practiced so far in RESTful web service? Based on that, your easiness of microservice depends on. Yes or no, na? Based on that, your easiness will be depend upon. I don't practice anything. Only I will listen means one or other day things will stack up and things looks bit heavy. Guys, are you feeling heavy, boss? Are you feeling heavy, boss? Very easy, Ra Babu. You're feeling heavy means you have not done practicals of. You have not done practicals of RESTful web services. That's for sure. That's for sure. Or you are thinking heavily. Okay. Wait until I launch one or other client component, Ra Babu, before going to any conclusion, right? Before going to any conclusion. How to REST APIs MS communicate in proxy class. Sucharita, that is nothing but Fin client. Right? Fin client will generate proxy class to establish the communication. So you are indirectly talking about Fin client. Right? Okay, boss. Yeah, I'll upload the notes first. Yeah, FinClient internally generates proxy class. That's why that is also called proxy client. In FinClient, we don't write the code. A lot of things will be generated internally, right? So yeah, we are working out the slot of design pattern, boss. Once the slot is free, I will start. Okay. Once the slot is free, I will start. Okay. Hari Ganta, for asynchronous communication, we should involve messages. Spring AOP, aspect-oriented programming, it is there to apply secondary services on primary logics, like security, performance monitoring, this kind of services. Okay. This load balance is different from what we use initial class of request load factor. Same now was. Load balancer is there to do load balancing. Okay, load balancer is there to do load balancing. Advanced Java batch boss in the month of February. Advanced Java batch will start in the month of February. We will let you know. Data will let you know. Okay. Can you please give me initial classes videos of microservices? Okay. That you contact admin boss. I don't have recordings. I don't have recordings of it. Okay. Super. Stream guys. Okay. Here. I'm sharing some videos for you people. Log4j videos. Did I share Log4j videos with you guys? Okay. HTTP JUnit 5. Okay, I'm sharing a lot of content, guys. I will tell when to study them. When to study them. But for the timing, you take this. Okay. Groovy videos are not there with me, boss. Groovy videos are not there with me. That's a separate course. Okay. System design is nothing but project designing, boss. That is not part of design pattern. Here we are doing system development, project development, right? Okay. Yeah. Agile Jira workshop also I'm giving to you people, guys. Agile Jira workshop. Jira workshop. Did I not share Gradle videos? Did I not share Gradle videos? Gradle. I think I have shared, not for your batch. Yeah, HTTP JUnit videos also given, boss. Super. New design pattern batch. Okay, Agile Jira has come. HTTP unit JUnit has come. Log4j has come. Okay. Gradle videos are there. Okay. Debugging videos are there. Log4j already there. Maven videos are there. Gradle videos I have given twice, boss. Okay. Super, guys. One question, please suggest how to manage office work and class practice. Sumit MCA. Okay, sleepless time and use that time. And what are you doing on weekends? So use your time off weekends. Use your time off weekends, right? Yeah. So for the timing, I'm sharing them, guys. I'm also sharing GitHub playlist. Right. Jenkins, actually part of DevApps, Babu. But I conducted one session, it seems. I'll share when at right time. Spring Data JPA videos, please contact that. Git, just now I shared Git videos, right? Thank you.